Um, my name is Whitney, and I use she, hers pronouns. Today, we are interviewing Aaron for Pride and Immigrant Heritage Month again. These interviews are a celebration for Pride and Immigrant Heritage Month, focusing on youth and young adults that are working in this area. Like I said, today we will be speaking with Aaron. Aaron, can you introduce yourself, name, pronouns, community, and organization, and what you do?
Yes, so my name is Aaron. I go by they, them pronouns. I'm in California, specifically in Sacramento, and I'm a part of Alliance for Education Solutions, and we're dedicated to serving vulnerable youth. And we take a interesting look at mental health. We try to see mental health in a very nuanced way instead of just within like a medical or doctor settings. So we try to uplift them in any way that we can.
Nice. And Mental Health Awareness Month was last month. And now we're entering the month of June where um, Immigrant Heritage Month and Pride. And so what does Pride mean to you? And Immigrant Heritage Month, what does that mean to you?
Mm, to like tie them both together, like what that means to me, I feel like what I always end up saying is liberation or freedom. I think that's like the most important thing. Whenever I think of pride, I think of people that are finally stepping into themselves and they finally feel comfortable enough to say, like, yes, like I am whichever letter you want to identify as. And like them being able to have the pride to like say it instead of like internalizing it. And then when it comes to what was the other one? Say it again.
Immigrant, immigrant.
To Immigrant Heritage Month.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of it still like applies as well because especially like here, like in the U.S., I feel like they make it very not. They don't make it as inviting for people to be like proud to be immigrants, even though like that's what this country is like founded on. And so like the fact that there are people who are immigrants or people that are like undocumented immigrants that are like able to say like yeah like I am like despite like this system who doesn't give a damn about me to be able to still show up and to still bring so much culture to this country and to also like fight for it like at the same time. I believe that they're within like that same fight of liberation. I believe that they're doing that work just as much as people who are finally prideful and like claiming like their own gender identity or like their sexual orientation.
Yes, that's so real. And I think that is very true and real to even the LGBTQIA plus community is like trying to find that balance of liberation, but also witnessing the white supremacy that happens in the community itself. And so um I guess my next question for you is what does intersectionality mean in the sense of having pride for your sexual orientation, your gender identity, but also being a person of color? Um, what does that mean to you?
Okay, this is a good one. I was actually just watching this Angela Davis interview, and she was critiquing intersectionality because it's a new term, but she was talking about, I believe, like the very foundation of like intersectional feminism, but like feminism was meant to be intersectional, like to begin with, like it was supposed to be able to look at somebody's life based on like the intersection that they're at, and, like all like the identities that they hold, but um, what it means to me, I believe that it helps me just understand like the world and like how it perceives me like a little bit more, but also for me to be able to go beyond the boxes that like society like tries to put me in terms of what I'm capable of doing. Like if they say that because I'm trans, like I can't think about that I won't be smart enough to be able to go to school or that I won't be able to like see myself in different I guess like venues like outside of like sex work and stuff. I think that me knowing or like me having like this idea that this is how people like perceive me, I feel like that kind of pushes me more to be like, you know what? No, like I
Mhm.
want to see representation of me like in school. I want to see representation of me like in social work. I want to see representation of me in stuff that I'm not even that I don't not that I don't care about, but in things that I'm not generally interested in. Like I would love to see like a trans scientist, you know what I'm saying? And like they may be out there, but um yeah, I think that my intersection and like knowing like damn that I'm kind of like at the bottom of like this totem pole trying to pretty much like I guess reverse like that narrative of like, damn, like even though like you're at the bottom, stuff is gonna be hard. It's like, you know what? It will be hard, but that doesn't mean that I can't try. You know, like that's just more reason for me to like keep going, you know, so that I can make my ancestors proud.
Right. Yeah. That is dope. And yeah, I definitely hear that. I think yeah, it's just like all a fight to get to the top. And I was talking to somebody. It's like this survivor's mentality. Like we're all just trying to survive in some way, shape, or form. And so,
That's
uh,
so real. And I feel, I think that's honestly like what I've been trying to get out of because I think with having like all like these things like put it against me, it will put me like in that survival mindset of like really just asking for like the very bare minimum of things, like of, oh, you know what, like I just want like this one thing and like I'll be happy. But trying to like get out of like that survival mode and being able to actually thrive, you know, to be able to be like, no, like I need to be able to demand more and not feel bad about asking for more at the same time as well. And as like I'm trying to like climb this ladder, even though I believe it's really hard to change the system from the inside out, I feel like if I'm gonna go up, like I want to make sure everybody else is like coming with me. Like they always talk about like once like black women like finally like when black women rise, like everybody like will rise with them. And so like with me being like at the very bottom, you know, I'm like, okay, like if I'm a rise, like we gotta make sure everybody's coming because ain't none of us free until we are free.
yes, yes, I definitely hear that. And so you kind of touched on this, like things that we need for, trans people, for LGBTQIA people, for, Black women in general, is for us to have representation, for us to see ourselves in the roles that we want to be in, so that people that are younger than us can know that it is possible. But what are some other things that need to happen in your movement and movements around the country, for people to actually start thinking about intersectionality and beyond that, like LGBTQIA plus issues?
This is good. I also really love this question too because I kind of talked about it last Friday. We had a Black Trans Lives Matter march slash like protest, and like I spoke at it, and the whole, I guess, foundation of my speech was really just being able to call out community, and I think that's what we need to be able to do more is to be able to hold people in our own communities a lot more accountable. Um, there was like a few things that like I really want to touch on right now. There's this one author, she wrote this book that is called Eloquent Rage. And she was doing like this interview and she talked about like the protests that are going on like with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And she said, if we were just as furious and like we were just as mobilized about what had happened to Breonna Taylor, we may have been able to prevent what happened to George Floyd. And me looking at that with like a trans lens was like, damn, like if we were just as mobilized and just as angry about the countless Black trans women that were murdered last year, we may have been able to avoid like Breonna Taylor from happening, from George Floyd from happening, and just we would have been a lot closer at stopping like a lot of the violence within our own community. I think it's really great the fact that we do see like a lot of support like now from like a lot of allies, but I think we have to constantly be able to call out what's going on internally so that we could see more like external change.
Yeah, that is so real, and I've been seeing that conversation a lot. And I mean, honestly, I've been checking myself as a person, who identifies as a Black lesbian woman, and I try to check myself on how am I uplifting my trans brothers and sisters to ensure that they are also eating from the same plate that I'm eating from, because like you said, unless nobody's free until we're all free. And so,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that mantra and that slogan is truly uplifted. I try to do as much as I can. And so, Yeah, like we can't leave people behind, especially when it comes to like trying to dismantle systems, because if we're not changing it for everybody, it's never going to change.
It's
Um,
not. And it's like the way that I've been starting to see it like more is that if we like leave those people behind, our success, I feel it's gonna be built upon like those people that we left behind. And so like unless we bring them like all the way, then we'll be able to like change the entire system instead of just trying to like work our way up it and then forgetting about the people that we left like at the bottom.
Yes. So, with that being said, we're going to shout out Nina Pop and Tony McDade. If y'all don't know who they are, please look them up and fight for them as hard as you're fighting for everybody else, because they also have been brutalized and have experienced police brutality and have been murdered by police, and they need justice just as much as the people that we're fighting for. So that's my plug. Um, and so, I mean, this has been an amazing conversation, but and there's so much happening in the world, and the world is so dark. I feel like the world is on fire. The pandemic,
Yes.
police brutality, community violence, all of these things are happening. And since the pandemic, a lot of things have been shut down, stopped, paused, no pride parades, no nothing. But and even in these times, we need to find ways to celebrate. So, Aaron, how are you celebrating Pride, even without the parades and everything else?
Um, so actually here in Sacramento, I'm on the Sac Pride committee,
Mm,
and that's going to be starting next week. That's when we're going to like start our Pride celebration kickoff. And so it is all going to be virtual. So that's like what I'm like really looking forward to. I don't want to like spill who our headliner is, but they're like a pretty big like R&B singer that like a lot of people know, and so she's going to be like a part of it. But honestly, like for me, and I don't feel bad saying this, but being like a visible like black trans person, like a very like it was never my goal to ever like blend in. Like pride for me is every day. Like one of my friends, I believe it was like International like Women's Day, and she was like a woman, and there was like a woman who came in like, oh, like Happy Women's Day, and she was like, yeah, it's every day. Like she was just already in that mindset of like we're supposed to always think that. Like we're supposed to think about pride like all the time. We're supposed to remember that Black Lives Matter like all the time. We're supposed to protect like trans people like every single day, you know? And so I've honestly been good, and I feel like what's been able to keep me in that mindset is by focusing like on like a lot of healing and just unplugging like a lot of the times. And
mhm.
so that is like how I celebrate. It's like by unplugging and just do my best to just remember that there's other people out here. Like there's like it's all of the work that's going on. It's not going to change like just with me,
Mhm.
but and like knowing that there's other people that are like still fighting, like they're still like picking up like that torch, and that it's okay for me to rest, you know. And so that's like what like allows me to be like in the mindset of like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay if you don't feel like leaving the house today. It's fine. Just celebrate and dance in your room.
Yeah, yeah. I think more people need to be aware of that, because I think thinking back to white supremacy being
Mhm.
also a white supremacy thing that has been kind of embedded in the US society. And so everybody think they have to be on all the time. Well, no, actually you just need to take time to yourself. It's
You
okay.
do, and especially Black people. Like that's how I feel, especially right now, because somebody said it. Like white supremacy is like a white people problem. Like we're just the ones who are like that are being like affected by it, and like I feel like that's true. And the way that I've seen like all of like this overwhelming support like internationally about like other like white people or other like non-black people being able to like finally stick up for what we've been fighting for like our entire lives. Like this isn't like something new for like me and you, Whitney. Like this is something that we've dealt with like every single day. And I'm like, cool. It's about time some of y'all are gonna be like the sacrifices for this shit, okay? Because a lot of people in my bloodline, they've been the sacrifices. And right now, I don't feel like being the sacrifice because my Black Lives Matter, Whitney, your Black Lives Matter. And so the more that these other people are like finally like mobilized and like ready to do some stuff, I'm like, Good. Period. I'm gonna go take a nap.
I'm a self-care while you take care of the things that's happening outside.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so this has been amazing. And I just want to uplift again some of the things that Aaron has said. One is, pride and and like actually Black History Month are not, 1 month. People celebrate it all the time. We are Black. We are living this experience. We are LGBTQIA plus. We are all of these things, and so people need to recognize that. I think that was spot on. Also, thinking about we cannot rise unless we have brought all of our brothers and sisters along with us. And so start thinking about how you can be more intersection in your work and think about other lives, and not just Black men, but Black trans people, Black women, all of us. All Black lives matter. I love that new quote because all of them. No one should be left behind.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I heard and I'm taking away from this conversation, and I hope other people do too. But are there other things that you want other people to, is there something else you want to say for people to take away from this conversation?
Um, I guess like one of like the last things, kind of like in honor of Pride Month, I guess, that I'm gonna say that I said last Friday is that transphobia, homophobia, biphobia, femphobia, none of that has like a place like in this movement. So if you feel it in yourself, call it out. If you see it in other people, make sure you call it out like within your interpersonal lives, because being able to change people like on that interpersonal level so that we can activate them so that they can be like these sacrifices or whatever that I was talking about, it's going to be really important so that we're not here, I don't know, 200 years like down the road.
Yeah, exactly. We can't do this for another 400 years. We can't.
No, no, heck no.
So, Aaron, how can people, get in contact with you, find some resources, all of these other things? Where can they find you at? IG handle,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, you know,
Yeah,
website.
so my IG handle is my personal one, if you guys want to find me, because I'm there, is at Yoncé's Boo. So if you spell YONCESBOO, that's where I'm at. And for Alliance for Education Solutions, for my organization's Instagram handle, it is Sacramento Alliance Cats. There's no special spelling to it, so just Sacramento Alliance Cats. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you for joining us today, for telling your story, for sharing with us what it means to you to have pride. And thank you for educating us all, because we all can learn from each other and hold each other accountable. So thank you for putting that plug in because I will hold myself more accountable to these things. Thank you, Aaron.